Hey mamas, it's Kristen Noel, founder of the Intuitive Divorce, and I'm popping on here straight after class with my beautiful team member, Master Coach Joe Young. And I have to say, it was a very tender class. And no matter how much planning we do for what we're going to unpack and what we're going to dive into, really the most important and I would say the most sacred thing about this group coaching container is that we meet moms where they're at. And God only knows they're at very different places from one week to the next, from one day to the next, from 1 hour to the next, from 1 minute to the next, from one triggering conversation to the next. And we know in our own lives that when we're really having a bad day or we're really feeling triggered or we're just completely overwhelmed and at capacity, it's really easy to just bow out and to not show up. And we had a mom that showed up today and she was just really frazzled and she was raw. And we celebrated that because I have to tell you that sitting in this container for 90 minutes where she really was able to be seen and heard and riff with all the other moms in class, she was transformed. She was transformed by just being able to exhale. And there was a theme that came up today that was really resonant because you might wonder how moms who are in different places in their divorces, different circumstances, different situations, different triggers, how they meet in the container and how we handle that. Well, the beautiful thing is that there are so many commonalities and so many things that we're dealing with. It's not about the circumstances. It's not necessarily even about the logistics of divorce strategy. Now, we dive heavily into that. But what we're really diving into is the emotional component. And I'll tell you why that is important because that creates the foundation that a mother navigating divorce stands upon. Now, mark my words, we are well in the weeds of divorce strategy because you need to be. But what also really matters is what condition you are in when you are faced with those big decisions and those tough conversations and those triggering encounters. And today, I think what we should probably unpack is what the resonant theme of this class was moms who were really feeling triggered that they were in some way hurting their children or impacting their children or just really afraid of what the ramifications were going to be on their kids. So,
Yes, and it doesn't help that oftentimes when the soon-to-be ex knows that the mom means business, the one area that they know that is a hot button are the kids.
mhm,
And so it often gets weaponized that, you're doing this and you're ruining the kids' lives and et cetera, play it out. It
mhm,
all gets said. And the truth of the matter is, you wouldn't be doing this if you didn't know deep down that what you're doing is in your best interest and in the best interest of your kids. And
mhm,
there are certain reminders that we give over and over and over again. And, I think we do a really beautiful job of hearing the fear, but not letting our moms get stuck in the fear
mhm.
because the fear is simply going to reel you back in and keep you stuck exactly where you are. And guess what? 4 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you're going to be sitting back saying, why didn't I listen? Why am I still in the same place, telling the same story with the same dysfunctional marriage and feelings? And now your kids are older and
Mhm.
they've watched this dysfunction play out, and so guess what? They think is a normal relationship is the one that they've been watching all these years.
Mhm.
So there's so many different components to consider, but I love the fact that we really gave space for the fear to have a voice today so that we could then turn it around and say, how can you maybe see that from a different lens, a different perspective?
Okay, you said so much stuff that I want to unpack in there.
I know.
Um, because
Sorry.
it was well, because this is what happens in class, and this is what
Mhm.
happens in divorce because it's all part and parcel. This divorce is casting this wide net across your whole life. And guess what? Your whole life is interconnected. So when one thing is out of whack, it's going to impact the other things, the other aspects. So today we were really unpacking, which it's funny because it's been a theme lately about really recognizing the story that you're telling or the story that you're caught in or the role that you have agreed to play. And again, you'll hear us say this over and over and over and over again. It's not about shame. It's not about blame. It's not about judgment. It is simply about curiosity and awareness, self awareness, because it's just showing you something. It's showing you a need that needs you. It's revealing something that needs your attention. So today, there was a lot of fear because, again, as Joe pointed out, when a spouse who realizes that they can't talk you out of maybe dropping the divorce or just whatever it is, when they feel like they're like backed into a corner, they're going to react. And the way they typically react is by triggering you. And the greatest way to trigger a mom is to go through her children. Weaponize the children, use them as messengers, use them as pawns, try to get them to do your bidding, which is the absolute worst thing you can do. And obviously, we don't control both sides of the picture. We only control one side of the picture, but that 50% of the picture is so vital. It's so critical. So, we were really helping workshop what was the fear that's coming up? What is the story? And we will listen. And again, this is not about denial. This is not about bypassing. This isn't
Mm-mm.
about saying, get over it, move on. No, this is about what is this fear trying to teach me or tell me or alert me to? What is happening here? And what can I do with it? And how can I tell the story differently? And we were also talking about future tripping, not your friend. In a divorce, the last thing you want to do is play out all the overwhelming scenarios that could happen. The could be's or the would, we don't know what's going to happen. You could be paralyzed by trying to figure out every worst case scenario. What is it that you said today, Joe? We put our head where our feet are.
Keep your head where your feet are.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, stay in the present moment. And one of the things that I love so much about this program is that we provide tools for each and everything that comes up. But we're not going to look at them all at one time because that's not the reality of how things unfold, right? If X situation happens, we're going to give you tools for how to respond to that
Mm-hmm.
when and if it's needed. But the problem with future tripping is that you can become so overwhelmed that it keeps you stuck exactly where you are. It literally paralyzes you with fear. And you'll find yourself sometimes literally decades down the road in the same position because you've allowed something that isn't even real to keep you stuck. And that's where we say, you're giving up a lot of life. That's a really high cost for something that may have never happened. And if it does happen, we're going to walk through it with you. We're going to give you the tools and the ways so that you know how to navigate that in the best way. We deal with this consistently because fear is going to be ever present when you are navigating change. It's just part of the equation. But man, how you respond to it is everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And you can almost guarantee you're going to be triggered during a divorce. So, what's really powerful about harnessing the power of awareness, self-awareness when you are triggered, it's when you can do that, you can just like, do that time out, that pause, and actually say, okay, what's happening here? And what do I need? What do I need in this moment? I might not be able to solve all of these problems, but I'm not going to spiral down. So there's incredible power in learning to harness the power of interruption and learning how to stop because I know if I don't stop, I am going to take a regrettable action or say regrettable words or lose it on my kids. And I really want to avoid that. We were literally like workshopping and running through basically scripts on how to help moms have these difficult conversations with their kids. And also, we were really like paring it down so that it was not so overwhelming. Because I think, again, moms think that they've got to go in and tell their kids everything. And actually, it's the complete opposite. Your kids don't need everything. They need to know that they're safe to communicate with you. They need to know that they're going to be in their house or with their friends, or they can still do their activities. They don't need to know all the details of the divorce. And so we were workshopping these conversations, and you could like see the color coming back in their faces. And it's like, and it was like transformation just by releasing the stress that was so overwhelming that they had to handle all these things and come up with all these answers and be able to have all the perfect words and fix all the problems. Not possible. It's just not possible.
Yeah. Yeah. It was so fun today too, because one of the moms was talking about, it was one of my favorite moments. She was talking about being so afraid of what was going to happen down the road, being so afraid that if she pushed back or used her voice or asked for what she wanted and knows she's deserving of, that there was going to be X consequences, right? And then in the next segment of class, she talked about worrying about something where her job was concerned for months, and that she had finally, just yesterday, decided to ask about it, approach it, and boom, there
Tackle
was an
it.
easy solution,
Hmm.
right? There was an easy solution. She said, I couldn't believe it. I went in, I had the conversation, and bam, there was a solution. And it was like, okay, think about that. You spent all those months worried about what might happen, what
Hmm.
might occur. You put your body and your nervous system through all the stress of that when all it took was a simple, direct, clear conversation.
Hmm.
That's all it took. And bam, there was a solution. And I say this because this is the truth of how things play out. We make them so much worse in our mind by imagining the worst case scenarios.
And
Instead, if we get clear and direct and out of the story of what all of that is, going back to your point, a solution often reveals itself very easily.
I mean, think about that. It's so true. We are so programmed to walk around carrying the worst case scenario,
Mhm.
like lugging it around with us. I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to deal with that. Think about that energetically, spiritually, physically, emotionally. What is the price you're paying for that? The toll it's taking on you, because being afraid and not doing something about it doesn't change the circumstances. And this mom, I think she was just so overwhelmed and so exhausted, and she finally was like, I've got to deal with this. And she dealt with it, and it all worked out. It all worked out. So what if, going back to the way we
Better
started
than she
this,
would have imagined, by the
exactly,
way.
exactly, with all kinds of options and alternatives,
Mhm.
that's when the universe is conspiring with you. So if we're going to carry around stories of worry, and we're going to worry about the worst case scenarios and the damage that's going to be impacted upon our children, what if we interrupted that and said, I'm working overtime to show up, to do this differently, to put myself on a better path to a better divorce. And I am going to do everything I can to get my kids through this and to be available for them and to make it safe for them to communicate with me and share their feelings and to get through this. And you know what? What if it all works out? What if it all works out better than I imagined? Instead of lugging around the worst case scenarios, I'm going to interrupt that and say, you know what? That's no longer my story. What if everything is working out for me?
Yes. And I do think it's one of the reasons that this program is so critical, because we give you the tools so that you are showing up, allowing for all the best possibilities. And we're there to remind you of that. It
It's like
is
an energetic, it's like a
like a shot,
chiropractic
a booster
energetic
shot.
adjustment, right? Because the truth is, you know what? These women are badasses.
Yeah.
They are, they've got careers and they've got beautiful children and they run households and they can leap buildings in a single bound. I mean, these are, you know, mothers are amazing. And it's like they just forget that when they, are at capacity and they're deflated, that's when the deflated and defeated, the fear comes crawling in and takes over and it's false. What is it? False evidence appearing real.
Yes.
It's not the truth of who you are. It's the truth of how you feel in this moment. How do you want to feel instead? That's what it really boils down to. So, as Joe said, we are clearly working with moms, like preparing for meetings with their divorces, how to negotiate their relationships with their divorces, how to make big decisions, how to set boundaries, how to stay grounded, how to be the calmest woman in the room. There's so much that gets unpacked here. But first and foremost, it's also about how to pivot and recalibrate when you hit a wall. You'll hit walls. We'll all hit walls. We're gonna go through this human experience. But right now, when you are at capacity and you are so overwhelmed, you must have tools that you can lean on. And as we always say, put in the evidence bank of what you actually are capable of. What difficult things have you gotten through already? Because I'm sure there are many. And you can harness that power and bring it here, but you need to take care of yourself. So that is what this container is all about. It's really about wrapping our big, fierce mama bear arms around mothers who are navigating new territory. And I got to tell you, we see literally in class, we will see transformation. A mom will walk in one condition and she'll walk out another. And it is the most satisfying, gratifying, beautiful, loving thing that we witness every single week. And we wish the same for every woman out there because you don't have to do this alone. And there are so many areas that you can't even imagine where you will need support. And also, it may not feel like a gift at the time, but life is going to dig up some things for you as you're in this process because it wants you to release it and heal it and move through it and move into your next chapter and to take an active role in designing that. And that's what happens in this room. And it's pretty magical. So I just wanted to share that today. It was really, as I said, incredibly tender. It's just beautiful to witness. And it's beautiful to see women showing up and sharing their hearts and allowing themselves to be nurtured and supported so that they can nurture and support all the things that they value most. So,
Yeah. Mostly their kids. I mean,
mostly
you
their
know,
kids. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, because it starts with you. It starts with you. And so next week we're talking about how to have those actual tough conversations with your kids, how to really dig in and be clear without over explaining or any of that. So I look forward to sharing that next week.
Me too. I know. It's
Yeah.
wonderful. It's wonderful to walk this path with women who are navigating these tricky, messy divorces and just take their hand and see what need comes up for them and how we can walk beside them and their children and really transform the entire experience.
Yeah.
So hopefully this has given you a little bit of inspiration today. First and foremost, please don't suffer in silence by yourself. Check us out at intuitivedivorce.com. And if you're not already, please get on our newsletter list. There's constantly so much beautiful information that's going out. And we have an app and we're on social media. And again, Intuitive Divorce. We are always here and available and would love to talk to you if this kind of a program is of interest to you.
Yeah. Beautiful class. Can't wait for next week.
I know, amazing.
Bye. Here they come.
There they go. Love it.
Have a
Bye,
great day.
sweetheart. Thank you.